Welcome back to Melissa Arsenal Analyst, the channel where we cut through the noise and give you the real picture of what is happening at Arsenal Football Club. I am your host, and today we have an enormous amount of ground to cover. After that painful 2-1 defeat to Manchester City, the entire Arsenal world has exploded with opinions, concerns, transfer stories and questions about what comes next. So let us not waste any time. Let us get straight into it. It is Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026, and the Arsenal fan base is in a very uncomfortable place. Not a desperate place, not a hopeless place, but uncomfortable. The kind of discomfort you feel when you know something is still possible, but you also know you cannot afford another mistake. The title race is still alive, the Champions League semi-final is coming, but the questions being asked right now, both inside and outside the club, are louder than they have been all season. The defeat to Manchester City did not just cost Arsenal 3 points. It reopened every conversation that had been quietly sitting in the background. Conversations about the manager, conversations about the squad depth, conversations about key players and their futures, and yes, conversations about whether this Arsenal team has what it takes to finish the job. We are going to go through everything today, every piece of news, every reaction, every concern, and we are going to do it properly with context and with honesty. Gyökeres spotted in Lisbon. Let us start with the news that broke just 36 minutes before this script was written. Victor Gyökeres was spotted in Lisbon. He was seen visiting a well-known sporting-linked restaurant while on a short break, a break that was granted to him personally by Mikel'S Arteta following the Manchester City defeat. Now let us read what was reported clearly. Gyökeres has scored 18 goals this season. He was benched against Manchester City. He was spotted in Lisbon visiting a place connected to his former club Sporting, and this break was framed as a reset moment for the squad going into crucial fixtures. Now here is how I see this. The optics of this moment are complicated. On one hand, you can absolutely understand Arteta giving players time to breathe after a painful defeat. Rest and recovery are legitimate management tools. On the other hand, when your striker, a player who cost the club a significant fee, has been benched in your biggest game of the season and is then spotted returning to his former club City, the questions write themselves. 18 goals in 47 appearances is a respectable return for a first season in the Premier League. But the benching against City tells you everything about how Arteta views him in the highest pressure moments. The question is not whether Gyökeres is good enough. The question is whether the system at Arsenal is truly built around maximising what he offers. And right now, the honest answer is it does not appear to be. The Lisbon trip may be innocent, a player visiting a city he loves and a restaurant he knows. But in the context of a title race, with Arsenal needing every advantage they can find, the optics of a benched striker taking time off in his former City is not the image the club needs circulating. John Obi Mikel criticises Arteta. Now this one caused real noise across Arsenal social media. Former Chelsea and Nigerian international midfielder John Obi Mikel went on his Obi-Wan podcast and delivered a very pointed assessment of Mikel Arteta. The quotes that were circulated are striking. Mikel said, and I am reading this as it was reported, that Arteta is rattled. He said that every week the Arsenal manager is coming out with a quote, from bringing the pen to the training ground, to TikTok music, to bring the lunch and bring the dinner. His message was simple, just calm down, enjoy it. You have worked so hard to be in this position. Do not be rattled. He is rattled. Mikel went further. He said he is looking at both managers right now, and you can see who has been there, who has done it, who has the experience and the know-how to play down situations and control situations. He said both managers are dealing with this very differently. On one hand, a manager who is absolutely rattled, who has lost control of his dressing room, who looks tense. And even when he tries to be calm, Mikel says it feels like it is not natural, it is faked. Now, let me give you my honest take on this. These are serious words. You cannot simply dismiss them because they come from a former Chelsea player. Mikel was in elite football for a long time. He played under top managers. He understands pressure dressing rooms. But here is the important thing to say. John Obi Mikel is an outside observer. He is basing his reading on what he sees on television, in press conferences and in body language. He has no access to the Arsenal training ground. He does not know what is happening in those dressing room conversations. So while his points deserve to be heard, they should not be treated as confirmed facts about the internal state of the club. What is fair to take from his comments is this. There is a perception problem forming around Arteta. Whether or not the dressing room is actually fractured, the public image of a manager under pressure is beginning to stick. And in football, perception can become reality very quickly if results do not improve. Piers Morgan and Arsenal's remaining fixtures. Piers Morgan retweeted a graphic showing Arsenal's final 5 Premier League games of the season. Newcastle United in 14th at home, Fulham in 12th at home, West Ham in 17th away, Burnley in 19th at home, Crystal Palace in 13th away. All 5 opponents are in the bottom half of the table. Morgan's comment was direct. If Arsenal win all 5 as they should, they will win the league, because he does not think Manchester City win all 6 of their remaining games. But if Arsenal do not win all 5, then in his words, they do not deserve to win the league. Now, let me break this down for you. The fixture list is genuinely favourable for Arsenal on paper. Every single one of those 5 opponents is in the lower half of the table. There are no top 6 clashes left in the Premier League for Arsenal. This is the kind of run-in most clubs fighting for a title would dream of, but football does not care about paper. The psychological challenge of maintaining focus and intensity when the Champions League semi-final against Atletico Madrid is happening in the middle of that run is enormous. Fatigue, rotation, potential injuries from European football, all of these are real factors. Piers Morgan is right that Arsenal should be able to win all 5, but saying they should and actually doing it are very different things, especially with what is coming in Europe. Alan Smith on Gyökeres. Alan Smith, the former Arsenal striker, gave his assessment of Victor Gyökeres to Sky Sports, and his view is worth understanding carefully. Smith said he agrees that Arsenal's attack is not good enough. He pointed to Bukayo Saka not being at his best and having dealt with injury. He compared Arsenal's front options unfavourably to Manchester City's, specifically mentioning City's front 3 or 4 with players like Haaland, Doku, Shirky and Semenyo, describing City's attack as more threatening than Arsenal's. On Gyökeres specifically, Smith said the club has not gotten the most out of him. They have not played to his strengths. He described it as a frustrating first season for the player, but insisted Gyokeres is better than what he has shown. Smith also questioned whether Arsenal should have made adjustments to accommodate a player of his cost and profile. He then looked more broadly at the squad. He questioned Martinelli's future. He described Trossard as a reliable player, but questioned whether he is the level needed. And he was critical of the overall forward line balance. Here is what this really means. Alan Smith is not just offering opinion for the sake of controversy. He is making a football argument that has genuine merit. When you spend a significant fee on a striker, the responsibility is not only on the player to adapt. The coaching staff must also find ways to serve his strengths. The evidence this season suggests that has not happened consistently. Gyökeres is a physical, direct, aggressive striker who thrives when the team plays through him and around him. If Arsenal's system is not designed to do that, then the investment looks even more questionable. And if he is being benched in the biggest games because the manager does not fully trust his ability to perform in those moments, then that is a serious concern that goes beyond one player and reflects a broader issue in how the squad has been assembled. Before we continue, if you are getting real value from this kind of deep analysis, then hit that subscribe button right now. This channel exists to give Arsenal supporters the full picture, not just the headlines. Every week we break down what is really happening at the club, and there is a lot more coming. So subscribe, hit the notification bell, and let us keep this conversation going. Arsenal's rise, the Big Six moment. A fan account posted a graphic showing Arsenal being crossed off the Premier League Big Six list roughly 6 years ago, with Leicester replacing them. The comment noted that Leicester are now in League One. Tottenham face relegation from the Premier League, while Arsenal are competing for the title and a Champions League semi-final. Here is the part most people are missing. This post is important for perspective. It is easy in the heat of a difficult week to forget how far Arsenal have genuinely come. 6 years ago, the club was considered irrelevant at the highest level. The media were writing them off. The fan base was fractured. The fact that Arsenal are now in the final stages of a title race and a European semi-final in the same season is genuinely significant. Whatever happens in the next few weeks, that progress is real, and it would be wrong to let one defeat to Manchester City erase that understanding. But progress is not a trophy, and supporters are right to demand that this moment, this actual chance to win something, is not wasted. Nicolas Pepe on Arteta. Former Arsenal winger Nicolas Pepe spoke about his time at the club. His key message was one of regret. He described Arteta as a coach who asks for certain things and acknowledged that from time to time there was not enough communication between them. He said that is what he regrets the most, not having enough communication with Arteta. Let me put this in plain terms for you. It is important to acknowledge that Pepe's comments are not an attack on Arteta. He is not blaming the manager for his own struggles. He is reflecting honestly on a relationship that did not work as well as it could have, and he is framing it as his own regret. But this comment does contribute to a picture. John Obi Mikel talks about a manager who has lost control of his dressing room. Nicolas Pepe talks about a lack of communication. Alan Smith questions whether the team is built around its players. These are separate voices making separate points. But when you lay them side by side, a question does emerge about Arteta's man management and communication style at certain moments. This does not mean the criticism is correct, but it is worth noting Ben White and Everton, according to a Team Talk exclusive that was widely shared, Everton are considering a move for Arsenal right back Ben White this summer. White is 28 years old. Intermediaries connected to the player have already held talks with Everton. Arsenal would ideally keep him, but would reluctantly sanction a sale if a sizable fee arrived. The Gunners are already preparing for a potential right-back replacement, and competition from other clubs is expected. Here is what you really need to understand. This story is important to read clearly. This is a rumour. It is not a confirmed transfer. It is not a completed deal. An intermediary having talks is a very early stage in any potential move. So supporters should not panic. But the underlying situation is real. Ben White's future at Arsenal has been uncertain for some time. He has been in and out of the squad. His role has shifted. And Jurrien Timber's emergence as the preferred right-back option has changed the dynamic significantly. If Arsenal are already scouting right-back replacements, that tells you something about how the club view the situation. For a player of White's quality and age, 28 is still prime years. A move to Everton would represent a significant step down in terms of footballing ambition. Whether White himself would accept that is unclear, and whether a sizable enough fee arrives to make Arsenal sanction the deal is also unknown. Treat this as a story to monitor rather than a conclusion. Aliadiere on Lewis Skelly and Nwaneri. Former Arsenal player Jeremy Aliadiere gave a candid interview about the futures of Miles Lewis Skelly and Ethan Nwaneri. His message was stark. From Arsenal's point of view, he said it is always good to have quality players on the bench, but at the same time, their value goes down every season when they are not playing. He said if the club and manager are not planning to play them, then Arsenal will have to sell them and make money from them, because if you wait another season, the price keeps dropping. He specifically highlighted Nwaneri, saying that even when Arsenal had injuries, Nwaneri could not get minutes. He called the loan move a good decision. On Lewis Skelly, he said the club has two other players in his position, and while injuries can change things, Lewis Skelly is not the first choice. Aliadiere said if he were in Lewis Skelly's position, he would be thinking he might need to leave. Let me walk you through this step by step. Aliadiere is making a cold, rational, footballing business argument, and it is difficult to disagree with the logic. Talent without opportunity loses its shine quickly. Both Lewis Skelly and Nwaneri are highly rated. Both have shown quality when given chances. But if Arsenal's structure does not create a pathway for them into regular first-team football, the kindest thing for everyone, player and club, is an exit. The concern this raises about the squad is a deeper one. If talented young players cannot break through even when the team is struggling, what does that say about the overall depth and flexibility of the squad? It suggests that Arteta has a very fixed idea of his best 11 and best squad rotation, and that outside of that circle, players simply do not get opportunities. That is fine when results are good. It becomes harder to defend when results are poor and changes are needed. Post-Manchester City takeaways from Liquid Guna following the 2-1 defeat to Manchester City, one widely shared post outlined several clear conclusions about what the defeat revealed. The first point, Arsenal need more firepower up top. The attacking depth at Arsenal is simply not comparable to Pep Guardiola's options at Manchester City, and that difference showed in the big moments of the game. The second point, the absence of Jurrien Timber was badly felt. His absence exposed a real weakness at right-back. There is not adequate cover for him in the squad right now. The third point, Bukayo Saka must return as quickly as possible. He remains Arsenal's most reliable attacking threat when it matters most. The fourth and perhaps most important point, Arsenal cannot play safe anymore. No holding back, no conservative approach. If they want to win this title, they must attack and take risks in every remaining game. Here is my take on what is really going on. These 4 points are a very honest and accurate summary of where Arsenal stand right now. There is no argument to be made against any of them. Each one is grounded in what we actually saw against Manchester City. The depth issue is not new. It has been discussed all season, but the City defeat made it undeniable. When Guardiola has 5 or 6 attacking options capable of changing a game, and Arteta is restricted in what he can do because the right players are either injured or not trusted in big moments. The gap between the squads becomes visible. Timber's absence is a structural problem that no amount of tactical adjustment can fully solve. He has been the linchpin of Arsenal's defensive shape on the right side, and without him, teams have found space to exploit. Saka's return cannot come soon enough. The numbers tell you everything. When Saka plays, Arsenal are a different team. When he is absent, the creativity and directness in the final third drops significantly. His return could change the entire dynamic of this run-in. And the final point about attacking boldly rather than playing safe is perhaps the most important managerial question of all. Is Arteta capable of shifting his approach to a more aggressive, high-risk style in the final weeks? That is the question that will define whether Arsenal win this title. Lauren on Tottenham relegation. Former Arsenal defender Lauren said something that surprised many fans. He stated clearly that Tottenham being relegated from the Premier League would not be good news for Arsenal fans or for the Premier League in general. He said, as an Arsenal fan, the North London derby is a game he wants to see every single season. He described playing your biggest rivals regularly as something valuable and said he wants the rivalry to continue. Let me break this down for you. Lauren is making a mature, long-term point about the nature of rivalry in football. On a sporting level, derbies only mean something when both teams are at a comparable level. A North London derby against a Championship Tottenham side is not the same fixture. It does not carry the same weight. There is also a commercial and competitive argument. The Premier League is stronger and more interesting, with a big London club like Tottenham in it. And Arsenal fans who truly want to beat their rivals want to beat them when it means something. So while there will always be fans on both sides who celebrate the other's misfortune, Lauren's perspective is the more considered one. A strong rivalry requires two strong clubs. Arsenal fans should want Tottenham to stay up, not for Tottenham's sake, but for the meaning of the fixture itself. Adebayo's warning. Now we move to perhaps the most strategically important story of the day. Emmanuel Adebayo, former Arsenal striker, gave his assessment of what lies ahead for the club. His central argument is this: the Champions League semi-final against Atletico Madrid is not just a European tie. It is a moment that could shape the entire end of Arsenal's season. The reason is not just about winning or losing in Europe. It is about what Atletico's style of play will do to Arsenal's players physically. Adebayo is very specific about this. He described it as a tough physical battle. He said some players will get kicked, some will get injured, some will get tired, and he believes this physical toll is what could make Arsenal fall in the title race. His exact framing was that the key moment of this end of season is going to be Atletico Madrid for Arsenal, that it will be a huge one and a tough one. Now, on the other side of this, the evidence is that Atletico Madrid are in genuinely poor form. They have lost 6 of their last 7 matches in all competitions. That run includes a Copa del Rey final defeat. Ademola Lookman, one of their most dangerous attacking players, is a doubt for the first leg with an adductor injury. And crucially, Arsenal have already beaten Atletico this season in the group stage, winning 4-0 at the Emirates Stadium. Here is what you really need to understand about this. Adebayo's warning is worth taking seriously because it is grounded in the specific physical character of a Diego Simeone team. This is not a typical European opponent. Simeone's teams are built around aggression, intensity, and making the game as physically brutal as possible. Even when Atletico are not playing well, they are dangerous because of how they impose themselves on opponents. The 4-0 victory in the group stage is encouraging, but semi-finals are completely different. The stakes are higher, the opposition will be more motivated, and the pressure on Arsenal's players to manage 2 competitions simultaneously is enormous. The point about fatigue and injuries is the key one. Arsenal's squad, as we have discussed, does not have the depth to absorb multiple significant injuries and maintain performance across Premier League and Champions League matches at the same time. If Atletico's physical approach costs Arsenal 1 or 2 key players in the first leg, the impact on the remaining Premier League games could be significant. This is the real danger. Not losing to Atletico, but losing players to Atletico's physical style and then not having the squad resources to compensate in the league run-in. Arteta will need to think very carefully about how he manages his players across both competitions in the coming weeks, which players need protection, which players can be rotated, and whether there are moments in the league run-in where he can rest key figures without losing points. Given the opponents, bottom half clubs, all 5 of them, there may be opportunities to do that, but only if the squad available is capable of picking up results without the starting 11. The Arda Guler story. Now let us turn to the transfer front and specifically to a story that has been developing quietly for some time. Arsenal have been in touch with those close to Arda Guler to explore whether a transfer is possible this summer. The Turkish international currently plays for Real Madrid. Arsenal first looked seriously at him in summer 2025, but were told firmly that he was not for sale. He was considered a key part of the plans under the manager at Real Madrid at that time. The current situation at Real Madrid is different. The managerial position is uncertain, with an interim manager currently in charge following the previous manager's departure. Arsenal have taken note of this uncertainty and reached out again. However, the response is the same. Guler is happy where he is. He is not giving the green light to any move. And those close to him have indicated that a change of manager at Real Madrid this summer is not likely to be enough on its own to push him towards an exit. The reason Arsenal are interested is clear. Martin Odegaard has struggled to stay fit and reach his best form this season. Guler, as a creative attacking midfielder, fits the profile of an ideal long-term option in that position. Here is how I see this. This is a rumour at this stage. It is important to say that clearly Arsenal have made contact. There is genuine interest, but there is no deal. There is no indication from the player's side that he wants to leave. So this is a situation to monitor rather than anything close to a confirmed transfer. What it does tell you is that Arsenal are actively planning for the possibility that their number 10 position needs addressing this summer. And that suggests the club themselves are not fully satisfied with how the creative central midfield area has functioned this season. Guler is an exceptional talent, young, technically brilliant, capable of playing in tight spaces and creating chances in ways that could transform Arsenal's attack. But wanting a player and getting that player are very different things. Real Madrid are not a club that lets its best young talents leave easily, regardless of managerial uncertainty. And Guler himself seems settled and content at the Bernabeu. For now, this story is one to watch. The Anthony Gordon situation. The final major story of today connects directly to Arsenal's next Premier League fixture. Newcastle United travel to the Emirates Stadium on Saturday and their key winger Anthony Gordon is a doubt. Gordon has a hip injury. He missed the Bournemouth game already. He missed training on Tuesday. A scan has revealed an issue, though it is expected he will return to play this season. He has not been ruled out of the Arsenal game, but his participation is uncertain. Separately, Tino Livramento is facing a more serious concern. He was forced off against Bournemouth with a thigh problem. He needs a second scan. The best case outcome would be a return for the final couple of games of the season. On Gordon's long-term future, the situation is very clear. His time at Newcastle is almost certain to end this summer. Bayern Munich are among the clubs with strong interest. However, Gordon himself has not yet communicated any intentions publicly to leave or stay. Let me give you my honest take on this. From Arsenal's perspective, Gordon's injury is relevant, but should not change their approach to this game. Newcastle are 14th in the table. With or without Gordon, Arsenal must win this match. That is the standard being set. But Gordon's potential absence does weaken Newcastle meaningfully. He is their most dangerous attacking player. Without him, Newcastle's ability to hurt Arsenal on the counter-attack is reduced. That could allow Arsenal to play with slightly more offensive freedom, which, given what Liquid Guna's post outlined about needing to be bold and take risks, might actually help Arsenal's performance. The news about Livramento confirms that Newcastle are also dealing with their own squad issues. Both sides going into this fixture are managing injuries and uncertainty, but Arsenal at home with more motivation and with a title to chase should have every advantage. Let us bring everything together now, because the picture that emerges from all of these stories is a complex one. Arsenal are still in this title race. The fixtures are manageable. The points are there to be taken, but the pressure is enormous. The squad depth has real limitations. Questions about the manager's composure are circulating publicly, and the Champions League semi-final against Atletico Madrid represents a genuine physical and logistical threat to the run-in. The situation with Gyokeres being benched and then taking a break in Lisbon raises questions about how Arteta plans to use him going forward. The debate about Lewis Skelly and Nwaneri points to a squad that may need restructuring in the summer. The Ben White story, however early it is, suggests changes at right-back are coming. The Arda Guler contact tells you Arsenal are thinking beyond this season, which is important. But it also suggests awareness within the club that certain areas of the squad are not currently good enough. And the Anthony Gordon injury story reminds us that football is unpredictable and that circumstances change from week to week. What Arsenal need right now is calm, not passive calm, not the false calm that John Obi Mikel'S suggested he sees in Arteta, real calm. the kind that comes from a clear plan, from players who know their roles and from a manager who trusts his squad and his process. 5 games left in the Premier League, all against bottom half opposition, all in London. And a Champions League semi-final woven into the middle of that run. The evidence is that Arsenal can do this. The evidence is also that they cannot afford any more mistakes. That is the reality right now, and that is where we leave it today. Thank you for watching. Melissa, Arsenal analyst. If you found this analysis valuable, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Share this video with a fellow Gooner who needs the full picture, not just the headlines. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Arsenal can win all 5 remaining Premier League games? And what do you think happens against Atletico Madrid? I want to hear from you. Until next time, come on Arsenal.